He was proud of the flag, yeah. He was proud of it. And he was proud he got to serve.
He's proud of the service, proud of the flag.
He's very proud. That was one thing that he taught all of us, what the American flag meant. He hung that flag with pride.
Told us about being over in Germany and places. And
the places he's been, he talked about Africa, he talked about Sicily,
Whenever there was a war movie on, John, this is the funniest thing. Dad talked whenever a war movie came on, he would then start reminiscing about his time in the service.
He talked very little about the war, but when he did speak about the war, then we would listen, sit and tell the whole family that's what he did.
I don't think he told everything. I really don't. I think he only told what he wanted us to hear and what he could remember.
As I know, and that he was captured with quite a few of his men who went across the river.
He told us that he was captured in World War II.
And then he got prisoner of war.
He was a prisoner.
He was captured for 18 months.
Germans come in, they got captured, and they was marching them back to their camp, and he said there was about 800 of them that got captured all together and everything.
And he talked about he went from this Starlock to this Starlock to this one up.
And they were taken to a place where they were to work, and his job was every day he peeled potatoes.
He said that there was a young girl that came and would throw food in at him, and his buddies that was captured too. He said that she was the one that kept them from really starving.
And he said this one particular week they were digging a ditch line. And he said every morning they would get them up, they would take them and they would run them, you know. And he said they would go for miles, just kind of wear them out, come back, and they would have their chores to do. So he made plans to drop out of line and hide in the ditch.
And that's when he left them. He got out of, when they was marching him, he just fell over the bank, he said, and laid there. And it went like he said he was there for hours before they all got through.
And he said he was one of the ones in the back when they were running, and he fell out of line to get into the ditch line, and another guy fell in line with him and got in the ditch. And he told him, go back with them. And he refused. And he said,
They didn't shoot him, but he escaped twice and brought him back. It's a wonder they didn't decide to do him in. And then, at the last time that they left, they woke up one morning and the Germans were gone.
And she lived in a local, like a townhouse, or not a townhouse, but a farmhouse nearby. And from the direction that she came from, when he finally did escape, he knew from her direction where she came from that she lived near, so he went that direction.
It's a German family, and they planted potatoes. And they watched them until it got nightfall, then they went down and dug up the potatoes and ate them, had them to eat.
dig potato seeds, and that's what he would eat during the day. That kept him going.
And he lived in the barn there. They did on this German family for a long time, and they would bring him food out to the barn.
He said one day a German family seen him, and a lady was out at hanging up laundry on a clothesline, and she seen him. She ran and got her husband, and they motioned for him to come. And he said he was so weak and so hungry, he came at that point. And he said they took him inside and they fed him. And then at night they told him go.
They would walk at night and then hide during the day so that they wouldn't capture him again.
Because this is daytime. And he said during the daytime you did not want to run, you want to hide during the day. He said at night you ran.
And he said it was a woman and a man took him in, just long enough to feed him, and then they got him to where he needs to go.
And so he said he was just so thankful for that family that they cared. And he said he kept, kept traveling, and then finally he came across an American flag that was in someone's yard, and he knew at this point that he was safe. And so he said when he approached the family, they told him the war was over.
And the guys got up and started walking towards our lines.
Made his way back to his camp, and so he stayed there for a while. Then he come home. The war was over when he got in the United States.
Trip home, he always liked to talk about them guys figuring out whether they were going to get out or not. And he said, hey, Sarge, you going to add up your points? He says, if I don't get out, you ain't getting out.
Well, he told me that when he finally located and found the U.S. troops and been able to come home, they put him on a ship. He came home, and when he got off the ship, they announced that the war was over. He knew the war was over. But he was to go to an American military, I guess, to stay in time, I guess, to a hospital or base. Instead, Dad told me he hitchhiked back to Kentucky.
Through this whole process of 18 months, the U.S. Army had told the family that he was missing in action, and then possibly dead. And so they lived in Athol, Kentucky, and then at that time my grandmother moved to Cincinnati. So when he got out of the service, he went to Athol to find his mother, home.
Where he thought his mom and dad was still living. And when he got there, they had moved.
And when he got there, they said, oh, your mother had moved. Your mother and sister had moved, and father at that time. And they moved to Cincinnati, but didn't know where. So he went to Cincinnati, and he found them. He was a sergeant, a staff sergeant, and he had a group of servicemen.
32 men that he had to see to and try to feed and everything.
But he felt that obligation that he had to let someone know where they were at. You know, he was the one that was in charge of these other servicemen.
Tried to take care of his men. He had that many men, and he tried to feed them, and he talked about them. Some of them were getting sick and dying in camp.
So he said he knew he was responsible for his platoon, that he had to let somebody know they was captured.
I don't think they ever had any idea of ever coming home until the war was over or you were dead. Yeah.
You know, he fought for our country. He put his life out there, and then he was captured, and then that duty to let someone know where they were at, you know, that's important.
Outside in the yard, he had a flagpole, and that flag got hung. He emphasized that flag never touched the ground. He showed us all the correct way of folding the flag, and what the 4th of July meant, what the holidays meant, and what that flag meant when it was draped over a casket. So we was taught respect for that flag because he fought for it.
And then when Roger went in service, that just about killed him. He didn't like it at all for Roger to go in. He was afraid that he would run into the same thing like he did. That was mostly his, what he dreaded. He didn't want to see neither one of the boys go in and be what he had been, you know, food and clothes and everything like that. He didn't want to see them have to suffer like he did. Because he'd been home and went back. And he talked about it when he was home quite a bit.
Did his mom talk with you about it while he
Yeah,
was
she
gone?
did, but Mrs. Holland didn't understand, I don't think, that, you know, he was really in a prison camp.
Right.
And I just believe she thought that he was just out there someplace, but he wasn't a prisoner.